preppers, homesteaders, and prepper-steaders. I'm going to go over failure of my KUMA lids on 5-gallon buckets on long-term food storage. As a prepper, many of you know and homesteaders know that 5-gallon food buckets are the way to go for long-term food storage, such as grains, beans, salt, sugar, things like that. You can store them in these food-grade buckets, and you can store them, food items, in non-food grade buckets as long as you have a Mylar bag, an oxygen absorber in there, and then have a good lid on there. I have the KUMA lids that are right here, and I had a bunch of them fail on our move. Didn't realize it, but I had about 10 of them fail. Over the Thanksgiving break, we went back to Wisconsin, visit family, and I had a lot of these in storage, and when I looked at some of them, the lids are all cracked. What ends up happening is, as you can see, these are stacked up right now too high. The KUMA lids, I'll show you the way that, the only thing I can think of is when the bucket is in there, see this inner recess? When a bucket is nested on another bucket, it's in this inner recess right here. On a lot of mine, I put weight over this whole lip right here. So normally the weight is right there when you stack buckets on top of them. I also stacked buckets about 2 or 3 high, and then I put a piece of cardboard and I put boxes on top of them with like more canned food and stuff like that. But as you can see right here, my driveway alarm's going off. It's Jenny's going to get the mail, so it's not an intruder or anything like that. But I put weight on this lip, and these cracked, and also the lip on here, a lot of these cracked, and I'm assuming it's when you push the weight out further. Good thing is, if you can see this one's got Mylar in there, sealed, so it's not a big deal. But it was one of those things that I was really surprised that I had this many fail. Like I said, it was over 10 of them. And a lot of it was food grade buckets with heavier stuff in it, such as salt and sugar, which, those ones I did not put in Mylar, did not do oxygen absorbers, because I was always told if you put an oxygen absorber with salt or sugar, it'll just turn into a solid block and you have to like chisel it out. Well, when the lid broke, the salt and sugar was solid block. So it's one of those, it didn't work out good either way. And I ended up giving the salt and sugar away out in Wisconsin. At this point, it was just low value weight. I can replace it out here much cheaper than taking up space in our truck and trailer. So I gave away, I think even, and then some of this stuff we had, I had been prepping for a long time. Jenny and I have been prepping for a long time. Before we found out she had celiacs, I had quite a few 5-gallon containers full of hard red wheat, and Jenny has celiac, so she can't have that. So I gave one to a family's neighbor, really good guy, gave him the sugar and salt, and I'm gonna keep some of the red wheat, just to have for barter trade, out here. There's probably some people that could use it. I could probably barter, but it's one of those things you really need to inspect these things, because some of these were not only buckets that I made, but like, I don't know if you can see this one right here. This one was a purchase bucket with grains, because the KUMA lids, the theory is, as you can see, it's in Mylar in there, but once you open that Mylar, you can use the KUMA lid and then put it on there. And the KUMA lids, this bottom piece that you snap on here, it actually has an O-ring inside there. So when you snap this down, this lid ring is airtight. And then the KUMA lid itself has an O-ring in here also. So it's a very nice system. It's just, I wish they were a little bit more robust for the price you pay, because I don't know what they cost now, but like pre-inflation, the way things have been going crazy, they were like $6 a piece. They're probably closer to $10 a piece for these lids now. I need to replace some of them. So, and I had no problem with these Augustin Farm square buckets. I had a pretty good amount of those. And they're just like things like rolled oats and things like that. But these held up really good. And these don't have a gamma lid. They're a one-time use lid, but I mean, there's absolutely no cracks on those. So it's one of those things, long-term food storage, you do need to inspect, rotate, and kind of, you know, put away what you use. Like I said, I had to go through a lot of this stuff. I even found a can of freeze-dried margarine. Like, who would even, like, we don't even use margarine. We have butter, freeze-dried butter, and I have lots of that. We use that, but the margarine, I'm like, and looking back at stuff about 13 years ago, I think I bought a Augustin Farms gluten-free set that came with, like, you know, a bunch of stuff. It was like a whole kit. And I think that margarine was in there amongst like a bunch of other stuff that we're probably not even going to use. You know, it's one of those things, they throw gluten-free on it and raise the price up, but it's like, who's going to eat that, you know? So maybe it'll go in the barter pile. But the freeze-dried butter, good luck with that, because it's powdered. You can use it in place of regular butter. Good stuff to have. You know, the beans and rice, great stuff. And you can do it yourself. I haven't done a video on packaging these because there's so many videos on YouTube right now, but literally, you get the correct Mylar. Make sure it's the mill thickness is thick enough. There's different thicknesses. It's kind of like garbage bags. You know, you ever bought cheap garbage bags and they just, you dump stuff in it and it just rips apart and breaks? Same thing with the Mylar. I think I use like the 7 to 8 mil or something like that, thick Mylar. I have to look though, but it's thicker. I pay more for the thicker Mylar and I've never had a problem. The old thin cheap Mylar, I've actually like freeze-dried stuff, and when oxygen absorber sucked out the oxygen, like a noodle in there poked through the side because the Mylar was so thin. So don't cheap out in Mylar, and also don't cheap out on oxygen absorbers. One of the companies, if you go look on the internet, you can find the chart for the Mylar, because depending on how dense things are in the 5-gallon buckets, you need to adjust your ratio of oxygen absorbers. So it will vary from like powdered milk to beans or rice, where there's more air in there. So you do have to keep that in mind. But you buy the Mylar bag, fill whatever you want in there of your dried goods, drop an oxygen absorber in there, pull the top up, you know, take we use a hair straightener and we seal the ends. We start from the two ends and work our way in, and we leave about an inch in the middle unsealed, and then we squish it down as much as possible, make sure the oxygen absorber is in there, seal it, and then the next day it's all shrunken down into a hard ball. It's pretty nice. But like I said, if you're moving, you need to be really careful with these. If you're storing them and stacking these excessively high, probably more than 3 high, I would watch it, because that weight builds up and it does put a lot of pressure on these. It's interesting because I've had gamma lids for over 10 years and never broke any, and then all of a sudden I had like all of these that were broken just because we moved them, and then I stacked them and put extra stuff on top of them, which I didn't think was that heavy. I want to say, I think I only had them 2 high, and then, you know, the number 10 cans, how they come in those boxes? I had a bunch of those boxes stacked on top of them. So really, and number 10 cans are all freeze-dried, dehydrated, you know, so they're not even that heavy. So it was kind of shocking to me how this happened. And it was stored in a temperature-controlled area. It's the only other thing I can think of is the gamma lids were like pushing 10 years old. Maybe the plastic, I don't know. I haven't lost faith in gamma lids because there is no alternative. So I'm going to replace them with gamma lids and hope for the best. But so there's that. So hopefully this was helpful. And then next week I'm going to do a review on our KUMA Applewood stove. We've had this. It has been great. And you can see the little, somebody made fun of this fan in one of the comments. I did a short, but it does blow air, and it blows hot air over there. It's not like a leaf blower strong. It's just a nice amount of air. It's blowing. And I'm going to do the full review on this, but what's interesting is I'm in the kitchen. So stove is right over there, and literally 4 feet away is our refrigerator. It's really interesting that most of the heat comes out the front. Some of it comes out, a lot of it comes out the top, and it's blowing that way, but the refrigerator really doesn't get that hot. But it does warm up the house in a good amount. Like I said, with the mini split, we struggled to get the house to 70. The last few nights, you know, it's been in the low 20s, and we've still had the house well above 70, like 73, 74. And this is a small stove. You know, you have the oven part right here, but the wood box down there is a 14-inch wood box, and it's just a really cool. I'm gonna have fun doing the review because this griddle, which is actually made by Lodge, is you can take this off and you can reconfigure the shelves in there, and you can put a pot that actually sticks up above this. So if you want to do some bigger stuff, you can actually do it in there. And I stuck this little thermometer on there. It's from our old stove. It used to go on the pipe, but the way this is configured, it's got the reburners in there. The pipe actually doesn't get that hot. It's kind of crazy. This down here, if I was to touch it or use a laser guide, you know, it gets 300. You know, it gets pretty warm down there. The oven inside gets pretty warm too. We had it like, it was like 400 degrees, and you can adjust it. There's some things in there to adjust the heat in there, but it's a great, efficient stove. I believe KUMA makes a lot of stoves for saunas. So it's made in America. You know, it's a very well-built stove, and it's been really good. Like I said, our house, I found some secrets of our house. I'm going to do another video about in the roof. Our house is spray foamed, our barn dominium. We have closed cell and then open cell. So there's a layer of closed cell and then it goes to open cell. So it's kind of a very well insulated and a very well sealed house, but we still get a good draft, and it's just been the best thing ever. We've always had wood in our old homestead. Not having it here for the last year and last winter was kind of a bummer. It was well worth the wait. We love the stove. It's just the perfect size. It actually just fits here great. And yeah, like I said, I'll do a deeper dive and a better review on it, but I just want to kind of talk what's going on. And I've been teaching still, so you can see I just came from teaching actually. It's been very busy. Now, my list is getting bigger. I need to, on our little blue office mini cabin studio, I need to insulate the floor. It is not insulated, and that is, you could just feel the cold coming in through the floor. The mini split in there, unfortunately, it keeps it nice and warm in there, but it's just constantly running because that floor is just sucking, you know, it's just bringing cold in there. So I got a lot of work to do there. I've got some work to do in the storm shelter / bunker. I've got just, my list is getting bigger and bigger, and hopefully I'll be filming a lot of it because I'm trying to show you some tips and techniques, because I was actually going to do a video on zip ties. Am I the only person that reuses zip ties? I'm so cheap I reuse a zip tie, but it's with a pocket knife, it's just so easy to pop that little clip and open them back up again and then, you know, use them again. So kind of curious if anybody else does that. But what else is new out here? Not a whole lot. It's winter. We've had, you know, first snow out here, and yeah, my energy level is just so low right now. And that's, I don't know if anybody's really noticed, I switched from doing a product review on Mondays and then a video on Friday. Now I just do a video on Friday. It was just too hard, and yeah, so it's and I need to get outside too. Like, it's so beautiful outside right now. Right today it's actually cold and wet and kind of gross, but in general, like, the winter is just wonderful right now. Like, I'm looking out the window there, I can see the mountains everywhere. I can see mountains out here now because the leaves are all gone and the views are just great. But it's just also nice to have the wood stove, just to be cozy in the house and just kind of enjoy. And I also got to do a video on the comparison of the solar. It's kind of nice now because we tracked this November versus last year November, because now we have 2 extra mini splits running, and we thought we're using much more, and we really aren't. So that's pretty interesting that the old space heaters and things like that, it actually, the usage, it's kind of shocking. So I'm going to do a video on that too, because that was kind of neat that we can actually see the difference now and things like that. So hopefully this was helpful. Like I said, if you got those gamma lids on those buckets, check them. Like I said, if you're wanting a cool small cook stove for your cabin or your homestead or your barn dominium, these Applewood stoves, not the cheapest stove out there, but it was the cheapest cook stove and the smallest cook stove, because a lot of the other cook stoves would not fit here. Oh, I don't know if I mentioned it too, the clearance. this stove has a double or triple heat shield, so the wall behind is hardly hot. Like all the heat, I don't know how they do it, but it's going like this way, so it's kind of neat. And yeah, the pipe it's at Class A the whole way. Like I said, our old stove, it used to get pretty hot on the pipe, even where it connects here, and this one not so bad. Like I could actually, the other one I couldn't even get my hand close to it, so it's kind of interesting. But what's interesting is the fan, this griddle on top, it gets hot quick, so you got to be careful with that, because this fan, it starts spinning like right away, so it's pretty awesome. So I'm gonna let it at that because I need to edit this. I need to I've just got my energy level is on low, and it's gonna be dark soon, so I want to hurry up and get this edited. Yeah, probably by the time you see this, you'll have just, the last video was the electric log splitter, which we're still on the hunt for a log splitter, but I'm gonna leave it at that. Till next time, thanks again and enjoy. Till next time, bye. Big camera. I'm still waiting for the temperature in my water to be perfect. It's still warming up. I'm gonna end it there. Thanks. Like and subscribe. I gotta support this shirt. It was a gift. I love it. I do. So thanks again.